Hello, everyone. Welcome to the KEOSTER. It is KEOSTER Live, Super Stars and Stripes. And I'm here tonight for you all here on YouTube, CKTV. And I'm here to bring you, I'm going to talk a bit about the world of entertainment, the world of movies and professional wrestling and politics, maybe a bit of politics thrown in there, a bit of history when we're talking about the United States of America. It is the 4th of July, and it is Independence Day, folks, and it's a good way to put things out there. Mark the day on the calendar and mark it as far as looking back. Looking back, I don't have the best knowledge of a lot of stuff American. I have a lot of good knowledge of America because I think all of us around the world, they may not have conquered places in the way the British Empire have, or that may not have went across the world and kind of conquered like the Roman Empire did, but they definitely made their mark as far as, they've always, well, one of the bad sides of the United States, you could argue, is they've always seemed to be at war. They always seem to be at war, but a lot of there's propaganda there. There is a lot of stuff. They try and say that they're at war for the good, but then, the way I've read into a lot of it is, it's in a way they stick up for the people that are the countries that aren't as good and don't have as much ammunition, or don't have as much, don't have as much on their side as far as resources, and they stick up for the countries that have been wrongdoed by other countries that have been bullied, if you will. But the States is really a country that brings a lot of positivity. It's a land of opportunity. I've never actually, a lot of people laugh at this because I'm so into it, but I haven't actually traveled there yet. I'm mad into everything American, and I love American culture and everything that is America, because I plan to actually go there, spend a lot of time there in the future, hopefully. But it really is the country I have most in common with, I think, because maybe it's to do with the fact that it's an outgoing place. It has a lot of maybe loud people. I'm a pretty I'm one of these people that kind of puts myself out there, and I like to spread the word and promote and stuff like that. And maybe the country would suit me a lot, I would say. But then maybe over here, probably you could look at it like you're going from being a big fish in a small pond to being a small fish in a freaking ocean over there. So that's the other way of looking at it, I suppose. But it definitely is a great country as far as when you take everything into consideration. I watched a great documentary there a few weeks ago on Netflix, and it was called America, Imagine the World Without Her. And it was all about looking at the history and through the slavery, and of course in the South, with the way the blacks were treated in the South before the human rights movement. And it looked at all the stuff with the Watergate and with Richard Nixon, and it looked at the stuff about the Vietnam War and the way they went into Korea and the different things that went on back throughout time, and it showed you the stuff about the Cold War with Russia, USSR at the time, all the different things that transpired over the years. And you really look at all this stuff and you think to yourself, well, they were trying to paint the picture that you could argue that America has really been an evil place, and there has been a lot of evil stuff, evil people in the background running it. But at the same time, they went over it again on the documentary, and they really looked at it, and then they realized that there's so much good that has come out of America as well, the positivity, and it has reached out to help a lot of countries as well. So you can't always paint everything with the negative brush or whatever. You have to really look at both sides of the picture. You know what I mean? You have to look at both sides of the coin. And I think definitely the United States of America is not an evil place. I think you're only as good as your government. A lot of the people over there have, I think they're very much wrong dude, or what's the word there? But I think not a lot of justice has been done as far as the healthcare system in America. I think the healthcare system is terrible, with the rise in obesity. Well, it's always had a problem with obesity and stuff, and I myself know all about that kind of thing. But I think it's a disgrace the way that nearly 2/3 of Americans are obese, which is very, very sad. Also, you look at the stuff like the political stuff as well. When George Bush Jr. was in office, George W. Bush was in office there in the early to late thousands, and when Colin Powell and the different people they had run the show then, Condoleezza Rice and a few of the others, I think that was a government that really, it done a lot. When you look back on it and you read up on it, that government done a lot of good, and it actually got America out of a lot of the debt that it was in at the time. But that government, in other ways, started they retaliated to 9/11 in ways that should not have happened. They should have been more diplomatic, you could argue, and they didn't do that. They kind of went the other way, and they started bombing out. They started bombing out the likes of the Asian countries like Afghanistan, and they did capture bin Laden, something that they couldn't do for a long time, and George W. Bush sent them in, and they got that done. They also, of course, captured Saddam Hussein in Bush's time there. So you can argue that he really did, even though he brought that Texas mentality to the table, he still got the job done. You can't argue with that in a way. I'm not saying I'm pro-war. I'm not pro-war, not whatsoever. I'm not pro-war, but I'm putting it out there that Bush got the job done, whereas Clinton didn't necessarily. Then when they were after Slobodan Milosevic in Clinton's time, when of course Milosevic went to war with Kosovo and stuff over in the southeastern Europe, of course Milosevic was got by them guys, and he of course eventually had to suffer the death penalty in the United States due to war crimes. But also you look at these different situations. Clinton wasn't a bad president, even though he had his he had his faults, let's say. But other people, such as the likes of, I think Obama in office at the minute in America is really he has really been, I think, he's a very, very good orator. I think he can present himself. He can say, do the speeches excellently. All that stuff, very, very good. But at the end of the day, he is a puppet. You know what I mean? They treat, he's a likable guy. Everything's very likable with Barack Obama, but I think they do treat him very, I think a lot of the American population don't like him. And it's not in a racial sense either. When he was elected into office back in 2008, I think it was 2008, yep. He really, really touched something in me. I think it was the fact that he was the first black president. Really made me happy to see that, because I love to see all that, all the things that were wrong in the past become right. I like to see that. And I think the human rights movement, with, of course, the late Martin Luther King, was a great thing, and all the stories there. You go on forever talking about the great stories of the human rights movement. And I watched the film Lincoln last year about President Abe Lincoln, and I watched the great stuff around that. I watched a few documentaries about the human rights over the years, and films such as Malcolm X, and films like different films that really strike that chord, and I'm not a big fan of that whole thing, but I think it's very, very admirable. The stuff that King done, of course, and stuff that, well, Malcolm X was more of a rebel, he was very, 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 went out there too much, maybe at times. He got very extreme, but that's not, I think that it's a great thing that Barack Obama was elected into office. He mightn't have been the best president. He mightn't have done things just as good as a lot of the past presidents. Like, for example, Ronald Reagan got into office. He was a big movie star, and then he got put into office, and you know, he was one of the better presidents. A lot of people might disagree, but I think he was one of the more likable and the more diplomatic, maybe, maybe not. But I think he was a very good president. I wasn't around when he was, most of the time he was in office, but I think history will tell you that he probably was very good. Of course, Jimmy Carter was president before him. Jimmy Carter was well renowned, I believe, and I actually seen an interview with Jimmy Carter there a while back, and he was talking about the whole thing with the whole situation in Syria and the situation over in the Middle East and all that terrible stuff that has been going on with ISIS over there. Isn't that just? I think that is absolutely terrible. You know, that's something that, you know, that should be ratified very, very soon. I believe they are on that, but I would like to see that be totally ratified in the near future. Very dangerous people. That, but then I've not been racist against them people. They're just the extremists of any area or any, let's say, people or group are extreme, and you don't want them kind of people. You want them to be sorted out or jailed or whatever they have, whatever has to be done, brought to justice. But I think definitely not all things in America have been negative. I think it's positivity, the great positivity. Let's look at some of the positive sides of the United States of America. When you look at the likes of great examples of it being the land of opportunity, in the land of, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger is an Austrian. I was talking about him in one of my other shows when he was talking about the fact that he was, of course, the Terminator. We're talking about the new Terminator Genesis, but I just want to mention the fact Arnold Schwarzenegger. When you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, you think he's a bodybuilder. Fair enough. He goes to America, becomes Mr. Olympia on numerous occasions, Mr. Universe, and God knows what else. Goes on, becomes a movie star. He decides they put him in as, they do a couple of small films, bringing up his career, of course, as you do. He was in the likes of Cactus Jack, also known as The Villain, that film with Kirk Douglas, father of Michael Douglas, but a trivia there. And he went on to become the Terminator. He also, years later, was in the Predator movie, the first Predator movie. And he was in films such as Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, films such as Red Heat with James Belushi, a very good film. Also, he was in Raw Deal. He was in The Running Man. He was in Kindergarten Cop. He was in Twins. All these films, and Schwarzenegger became a household name. Well, Schwarzenegger went from there, and he decided he was involved with the Kennedys. He was married to Maria Shriver, who's one of the Kennedy clan. I want to be in politics. So they let Schwarzenegger be in politics. He goes on and he becomes the governor of California, or as he says, the governor of California. So it was a very good turn of events for Schwarzenegger, and he becomes one of the highest grossing, I shouldn't say highest grossing, he has been one of the highest grossing box office stars in cinema history, of course, but when we're talking about politics and his role as governor of California, he was the most successful governor of California in modern history. Now, isn't that something else? Schwarzenegger goes from film and bodybuilding into governor of California and becomes one of the most successful governors in history. Who would think that would have happened? That happened. So Arnold Schwarzenegger, perfect example of someone that decides they're going to leave their little country in Europe and become a legend in America. There you go. Because the world watches America. You know, I was saying at the start, you know, they haven't done the whole Roman Empire thing. They haven't done the whole British Empire thing and went and conquered and everything. They have went into every country, okay. They went into a lot of countries to try and help out or try and do something. But they have got their, because they speak English in America and it wasn't taken over by the Spanish or the Portuguese during the during the time they conquered a lot of places over there. And instead, the French came over, conquered a bit of Canada and parts of America. as well as the British. Of course, they came over, and the Dutch came over for a while. Of course, as you know, New York used to be known as New Amsterdam. That's another kettle of fish. Uh, but yes, indeed, we look at America, and we look at it has really spread through media. Media is the big thing here, folks. Through the world of media and movies and all the great stuff we love. Uh, they have captured the world, and they have put all their stuff out there. A lot of it's propaganda. There is a lot of people, even people that I know, people that I talk to on a weekly basis or whatever, are very anti-American as far as they try and go and watch stuff from other countries instead, or they try and be into British stuff instead of American stuff. And I say, why not just let the Americans entertain you and enjoy the everything, enjoy things American. I think a lot of people look at it as very cheesy, and they don't like the stuff, the bad stuff that goes along with good stuff, so therefore they don't want to be bothered with any of it. I don't know. But I just think American stuff is really cool. I really love all that stuff. And with it being the 4th of July, Independence Day over there, I thought, well, what better thing to do than bring you a show all about all things American and all the great sides. And even we talked about the negative sides a while ago, that all has to happen when you want to discuss Americana. And the very thing of Americana, a guy that really embodied Americana, is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Of course, the wrestler that died there a couple of weeks ago really was a guy that was a normal. He was a kind of a heavy guy. He really wasn't what you would envision as an athlete. But he was able to get the kind of character, and he was able to cut the kind of promo that made him an absolute star. And when you look at America being the land of opportunity, he was the prime example of using that to his advantage. And in his industry, which is professional wrestling, you don't have to look perfect. You can deliver a great promo, go out, put on a great match with someone who wrestles better or whatever, and he becomes a star overnight. You can become a massive star in that industry. But another prime example from the world of wrestling, now that we're talking about that, we're going to move on to something else in a little while, don't worry. But Hulk Hogan, when you look at Americana, when you look at all things American, you really have to look at Hulk Hogan as probably the single greatest phenomenon to ever come down the pike in sports entertainment or professional wrestling, whatever you want to call it. Indeed, Hulk Hogan has been the American that is really, he didn't use the red, white, and blue in his attire, but he was, of course, the red and yellow for most of his career. But then, as well as that, his theme music, his real American music, was what captivated the crowd. And then his larger-than-life persona, it was really a great asset. And he became a phenomenon in American culture in the 1980s and through into the 90s. Other people who really have captured the Americana, that feel of America, is the likes of, when you think of the likes of characters in comics, like the likes of Captain America. Captain America has been a massive, especially since his reinvention this last few years with the film that has been out for Marvel Comics. And the Avengers, of course, he's part of the Avengers. So Captain America has been a massive part of American culture. The way they use their flag, the way that the Americans use their flag, and they're so patriotic. And I know a lot of people feel, oh, they're rubbing in our faces, and the Americans rub everything in your face or whatever. I totally disagree with that. I think that is a great thing. I'm not very patriotic as an Irish person. I don't think that's the way to go. I do disagree with rubbing your country in your face and all. But I think it's a beautiful thing when people are like that with their own country. I wouldn't do it myself. I think I'm very proud to be Irish, don't get me wrong. But I feel I wouldn't be as patriotic as a lot of people. But I think the idea of the Americans and the way because I do shows of people out there saying, oh, you never give us much love to Ireland. Like, that's because, I do shows for St. Patrick's Day. I have done radio my Mixcloud shows and my YouTube shows for St. Patrick's Day. So you're wrong if anyone says that. But what I will say is the American way of doing things is more my style. I like the louder kind of, not louder to be bad, but the louder, a more exciting kind of build-up type of stuff. I'm more into that. That's why I'm such a big wrestling fan, because I'm into all the hype, super hype and stuff, and I really love that kind of thing. Whereas a lot of people are more chilled and laid back. They're not into that. Fair play, whatever you're into, you know what I mean? Whatever floats your boat. But yeah, the Americana is running wild today, folks. It is the 4th of July, Independence Day. For all you Americans out there, I hope you're all enjoying your day. Parties and picnics and all the rest, parades and stuff that you all get doing today, I believe. A couple of days ago, we celebrated Canada Day, of course. That was another good day for you all over in Canada, I'm sure. But it's great that I can come on and share my feelings about somewhere and talk about all this stuff. And as a YouTube show, and it's great to be on here, folks. KEOSTER Live here. This is Superstars and Stripes. And if you're wondering where I got that name from, well, knowing me, it was from wrestling. I got that at WrestleMania 7. They themed it all around all things American, patriotic stuff, and they called WrestleMania 7 Superstars and Stripes Forever. So there, that was it. That's where I got Superstars and Stripes from. But it's a good way to use it. Also, we can talk now about a few of the things in American history. When you look back at all things American, you think about things like 9/11, which was a horrible event back September 11, 2001. I remember being on a bus coming from school, and I remember hearing about the whole tragic events and going home. I was glued to the TV for the next 2 days at the news channels and stuff, and I thought it was very sad state of affairs. And I was watching George W. Bush's his interviews about the whole thing. And originally, when I watched first, I remember being all supporting America and stuff and hoping they done something about this. But then, on hindsight, when you look back at it all, you think to yourself, well, they should have been more diplomatic, you know, and it should have been done more in a more conservative manner, probably. There were so many deaths, and not only from the actual tragic events, but from the retaliation. So many innocent people killed from that retaliation when they went back and they bombed out all them cities and the Middle East and that, and Afghanistan and all them places. That was very, very sad. Also, looking at want to talk about conspiracy theories as well, folks. I'm a big fan of the conspiracy theory shows on True TV, on YouTube there, with Jesse Ventura, of course, another former wrestler, former Navy SEAL, former film actor, and now, of course, a TV show and YouTube show host, legend of our time, Jesse the Body Ventura. And I forgot to mention something there. He's also a former governor as well. He was governor of Minnesota. And he was then, of course, he changed his name from Jesse the Body Ventura to Jesse the Mind Ventura. But that was fun as well. I remember Jesse Ventura even got involved in professional wrestling as a special referee, and he came to some of the shows and hosted some of the shows even when he was governor. And I thought that was a great thing, because he was such an icon in the world of anything. He still is such a great talker. You could listen to Jesse Ventura talk about anything, and I could listen to him all the time. I get a lot of my influence from Jesse the Body Ventura. But yes, indeed, he became a big deal, of course, then. And when you think of them, that career span, like him and Schwarzenegger used to act together in a couple of Schwarzenegger's films, I think, namely Predator and Batman and Robin, along with a couple of others like The Running Man. But they were pretty good buddies, I think, at this stage. But Schwarzenegger used to get Ventura, I think, for the film because he knew him, and of course Schwarzenegger's connections with wrestling as well, so I suppose it might have started there. But I remember like when you think about it, Schwarzenegger has this career that transcended all these different forms of media and sport and that. When you think of Ventura's career, his career spans a few different things as well. When he started off with the I think it was the Navy SEALs, and then he went into the pro wrestling, and then he went into pro wrestling commentating, and then he went into politics, and then he was governor of Minnesota, and then he became the host and that. But all throughout that, he was a film actor. He's been in films. Isn't that something else? That's brilliant, I think. But great career span and such a great transition from one to the other and stuff as well, which is pretty cool. So Jesse Ventura, another example of the American dream and being lived, and great stuff. Anything else I want to cover? A few interesting things, maybe from the conspiracy theory side of things. Those conspiracy theories I really enjoy are the ones with 9/11. I enjoy the one with the UFO one, Area 51. I always enjoyed that one. Is there anything there? Do they have aliens in that area of New Mexico? Who knows? You know, you don't know it until you know it. Nobody knows it really, do they? Well, few people are supposed to know it, but also stuff like the Hindenburgs and, of course, the Illuminati. That's a big thing. That's something that you could do a whole show on. But I find all that stuff absolutely fascinating, and really mad stuff altogether. Also, when you look into conspiracy theories and stuff, you think about all these things. You wonder about all these things, and I think it's really interesting stuff. So we'll leave that. We're going to leave that for another time to talk more in depth about that stuff. But for now, it's been great bringing you the KEOSTER Live Superstars and Stripes Forever, folks. And I hope you're enjoying your Americana, your day with, of course, 4th of July, and it is, of course, probably you could say the day you all become very happy about being and the nation that you are. Independence Day, 4th of July, being the KEOSTER for you, folks. Half an hour of talking about the red, white, and blue of America. And I'm going to leave it with you, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show. Just a bit of banter, a bit of talking. And I'll see you all later. I'll probably be back next week. Might be back for a few days now to do a live show, but I'll be working on some recorded stuff in the meantime. I have a lot of special guests coming at you, folks. I've got a lot of special guests coming to KEOSTER Live to hook up with the KEOSTER on air on CKTV. And, you got to do it. One in particular, I've actually got an American lady coming on to talk at some stage, maybe in the next few weeks, or the next couple of weeks. A woman from California, from San Francisco. So that could be on the way to talk about some American culture. I've tried to get her on tonight, but she couldn't make it tonight for this show. But, there's always another time. I'll be talking to we'll be talking to actually lots of people, fellas and girls, but we've got a lady who specializes in wrestling, big wrestling fan. She's going to talk divas and that coming up. So I think she won't mind me naming her there. It's Claire. So Claire Simpson is going to be coming on to talk about the wrestling world. That's going to be fun. Also, we're going to have other guys. We're going to actually have a wrestling hangout coming up soon, and it's going to be like all the big wrestling fans that I know here in Ireland, and we're going to probably going to be the first ever Google Hangout based on wrestling, and that's going to be pretty cool, folks. And that's going to be me. It's going to be JD Duddy, good buddy of mine. It's going to be another few people. We have few people confirmed for it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. That'll be Beyond the Ropes Wrestling Podcast. It's Kyle Martin will be there as well, a guy who's been on the show before. So that's coming at you as well, folks. Beyond the Ropes, back at you on a Google Hangout. Also, the Movie Zone will be back. Myself and John Shorthall will be bringing you some talk. Probably going to focus on Marvel and DC on our next show next week. That's going to be some fun. Other than that, KEOSTER Live is cooking, folks. Been great bringing you Superstars and Stripes, USA style. It is KEOSTER Live, and big shout out to all my buddies out there listening or watching or listening in on live or even on the repeats. If you listen to the repeats, if you're watching the repeats on KEOSTER Live, it will be available to watch straight after I finish here tonight. So, Yankee Doodle Dandy, folks. All the best. And KEOSTER over and done.